Alrighty, what is going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Very Cold Lasagna, the podcast that houses a safe and open listening platform for casual, cold, and even the dumbest takes on the world of WWE, AEW, the NFL, and the wide world of pro wrestling and sports in general. I'm your host, DylanLasagna. Welcome to today's episode number 62 of this freezing cold podcast that is obviously in the coldest as hell fridge. So it's once again time to open up that very cold fridge, grab that very cold yet spicy hot lasagna, and time to talk some more about this NFL season. More NFL, yeah. You all ready for more NFL talk? Because I certainly as hell am. So we got a good show for you all. We're going to be talking about week 10 of this biggest NFL season ever. We got the games, winners and losers, players of the week, and then when that's all said and done, our picks for week 11. To start off today's show, this is not really NFL related, but I want to briefly mention the fact that if you follow sports, or if you follow the NBA, or you go to any concerts or WWE events or anything in general, in this LA arena in the Los Angeles area. You may know the arena called the Staples Center, or at least it was previously called that. Well, the Staples Center, home to the Los Angeles Lakers, the Clippers, the hockey team, the LA Kings, and also home to the women's basketball team, the Los Angeles Sparks. Well, their stadium is being renamed, no longer the Staples Center. It is being renamed to Crypto.com arena. What the fuck? Oh, damn, they really lost the naming rights. They really did not renew the naming rights for the Staples Center. Staples, yeah, the school supply store really dipped out on the arena. We're like, nope, we're done. We're literally done with giving you the naming rights to the arena, and we're like, see ya. And I don't know, the arena decided to go with crypto. Yeah, Crypto.com. Yeah, go with the trend of cryptocurrency, those NFTs that are the trend nowadays. Damn, it's kind of a shame. Actually, it is a big shame that it's being renamed to this. Staples Center is known to so many people. That's the name that people are used to, and yet it's gone like that. It's literally gone. Like what the fuck is a crypto arena? It's so strange. But yeah, that is just my little spiel on that. It's very strange. We're here to see the Los Angeles Lakers or the Clippers in Crypto.com arena. No, this is the Staples Center. This is where Kobe Bryant made his name, not in the freaking crypto arena. What the heck is that? What is that? What the heck is that? Oh man, this. Sure. It looks like a minor thing, but damn, that's kind of a blow. But yeah, if you want to learn more about it, it's on Bleacher Report. You can also search it up, Staples Center, or at least Crypto.com arena. Yeah, that's a thing now. So anyway, before we talk about the main topics of the show, before I dive deeper about this crypto thing and ramble more about that, before we get into today's show, as always, I want to get into the social media, share about it, all that good stuff. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on that notification bell if you want to see the vodcast version. And if you want to listen to the audio version of this podcast, make sure you listen to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor FM, Google Podcasts, wherever and however you want to listen and watch the show. Follow the show on social media, on Twitter and Instagram at Very Cold Lasagna. So let's get into today's show. Let's first talk about week 10 of the 2021 NFL season. Obviously, this was going to be an interesting week. Actually, we were just following up a pretty bad week 9. Yeah, week 9 was not good at all. I think week 9 had some kind of weird things that were happening in that week. So weird that I already forgot about it. I think week 8 and week 9 were like weird weeks. Like week 9 was not as bad as week 8, but it's just like Well, week 10, however, there were some interesting games that went down in this particular week, and a couple upsets that stood out to me. So I think, in my opinion, I'm going to already say this, week 10 was, well, one of the better weeks that we had in quite a while. So 4 teams were on bye this week. So as we dwindle down the season, less teams are going to be on bye. So we had at least 4. So these 4 teams were pretty much the bottom of the barrel teams. The Giants, the Bengals, the Bears, and the Texans. So for all you Texans fans that want to see the team lose even more, you had to wait another week for that. So let's get into week 10 of this 2021 NFL season. And we started it off with Thursday Night Football as the Miami Dolphins led an upset over the Baltimore Ravens. The then AFC North, or they're still leading the AFC North now. The AFC North leading Baltimore Ravens 22-10. So their defense showed up in a game that Brian Flores was mismanaging his quarterbacks again. You know, Jacoby Brissett was starting this game, and then he left because of a knee injury and was eventually cleared to return. But then Tua Tagovailoa came in, even though he was coming into the game with a finger injury that he showed signs of, like, there was no finger injury. So it was just a situation where Brian Flores was like, was my quarterback really healthy, or like, what are we doing here? But even then, Lamar Jackson was just out of sorts all night. It's like he wasn't doing anything productive until like garbage time, when the game was pretty much out of reach. And the Ravens pretty much salted the game away because they gave up a big fumble recovery for a touchdown to the Miami Dolphins. So the Dolphins beat the Ravens 22-10 in a big stinker by the Baltimore Ravens. So then we get to the Sunday action of the games, starting with the early morning slate. The Buffalo Bills seem to be getting back on track on offense, as the pretty much ended the Mike White era. Yeah, they ended the Mike White era of the New York Jets, because Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and the running back attack whooped some gangrene candy asses all over New York and bounced back from a very bad Jaguars loss as they beat the New York Jets 45-17. Now in the nation's capital, the Washington football team actually got an upset of their own. They beat the defending champions, the Tampa Bay Bucks. Both teams came off their bye, and I guess the one team that, well, got off the bye better was Washington. And they put Tom Brady in a rut by a usually bad Washington defense that, well, I guess for one game turned into God. And this is a Washington defense that lost Chase Young like during this game. They pretty much lost him for the season to a torn ACL. But still, they were able to rattle Brady all game long. And then Taylor Heineke and Antonio Gibson, their second-year running back, they pretty much controlled the ball. They controlled the time of possession. Like, they took pretty much the majority of the fourth quarter to seal the door shut on a Tom Brady comeback. So Washington beats the Tampa Bay Bucks 29-19, and there's a little bit of concern for the Bucks if they want to repeat as champions. So the Dallas Cowboys beat the Atlanta Falcons in a really big ass kicking, 43-3. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, they bounced back from that big trap game last week against Denver by trouncing all over Matt Ryan, who was just unable to move the ball in another week without Calvin Ridley, and Kyle Pitts was just nowhere to be seen. And that Falcons team, oof, what a mess. But as for the Cowboys, they obviously seem back on track. I guess that last game was just them rusty as hell, especially Dak. But this game proved that game against Denver was just an off game. So Cowboys beat the Falcons big. Then the Tennessee Titans beat the New Orleans Saints 23-21. The Titans were still not exactly a good offensive performance, but they did enough to hold off a Saints last minute comeback. And pretty game. So the Titans beat the Saints 23-21 in another week without Derrick Henry. But man, they got to start picking it up offensively. But luckily for them, they have the easiest remaining schedule going forward. But they got to use this time to find their identity on offense. Then the Indianapolis Colts nearly blew a big lead to the Jaguars as they beat them 23-17. Like, man, like the Colts, like I don't know what to think of them. Like they were leading 17-0 in the first quarter. They built a 17-0 lead in the first quarter. Jonathan Taylor and the Colts defense built up a big lead because of the Jaguar stupidity. And then that lead was nearly erased slowly but surely in the game. And then they were just lucky to survive because the defense was able to notch a strip sack on Trevor Lawrence to essentially put the game away. But goddamn, this Colts team, just a week after beating the New York Jets decisively, they nearly shit the bed against the Jaguars. So they beat them 23-17, but not a good look when you're about to face the Buffalo Bills next week. And in a game that absolutely nobody wanted to win. Literally, the Lions, like they finally snapped their winless streak. They will not be going 0-17. No. They will not be going 0-17. However, they will not be going 1-16 either. Not quite yet. Because they and the Pittsburgh Steelers ended in a 16-all tie. Yes, 16-16. They tied. Yeah. It was that kind of rainy, shitty day in Pittsburgh. The Lions and the Steelers played 70 minutes of drizzling, literally shit in a game that absolutely nobody wanted to win. Now, granted, Jared Goff played hurt. Big Ben Roethlisberger was a last-minute scratch because he was on the COVID list the day prior of the game. And T.J. Watt, the Steelers' big guy on defense, he had to leave the game. But goddamn, did neither coach and neither quarterback try to outdo one another to try to win this game. Like, holy hell. Like, I mean, maybe 16-1 seems like a possibility for the Lions. Maybe. I don't know. So then the New England Patriots trounced all over the skid marks. Yes, the Cleveland skid marks are back, people. 45-17. So the Browns managed to get a 7-0 lead early on the Patriots, but it was pretty much all Patriots from there on out. Mac Jones looked good on offense. They hammered a pretty weak Cleveland secondary, and the defense made the injured and hurt Browns offense completely skid mark full. So Patriots run over the Browns 45-7 in an absolute beatdown in New England. Then we get to the afternoon slate of games. The Minnesota Vikings beat the LA Chargers 27-20. This was a good win for the Vikings. And yeah, I know the Chargers are going back to being the Clippers, just like I predicted. I know people were like, oh, the Chargers are here. But I knew somehow, in some way, they were going to clipper it up. So Kirk Cousins actually did pretty good here. He actually did pretty good. Like, took care of the ball other than, I think it was a fumble. I think he fumbled the ball, but I don't remember. But other than that, he had a pretty efficient day. He wasn't just check down Charlie. He actually moved the ball downfield. Pretty aggressive in this one. And he led his team to an upset over a Chargers team that has lost its offensive groove. And yeah, they're going up against Green Bay next. But this is a Vikings team that could make a push at a wild card despite Mike Zimmer's micromanaging. So the Vikings beat the Chargers 27-20 on the road. Then the Carolina Panthers beat the Arizona Cardinals. Granted, the same G League Cardinals that ran over the 49ers asses in week 9. They got their ass whooped by the Panthers this week, 34-10. And keep in mind, like I said, this was a G League practice squad Cardinals that had Colt McCoy starting. They had James Conner. Sure, James Conner ran over the 49ers last week 9, but he was facing a much tougher Panthers defense. And that showed. That showed in week 10. And meanwhile, for the Panthers, they looked like a much more rejuvenated team when they re-signed Cam Newton, and the effects showed on the field. And they not only spent time, not just reintroducing him back into the offense, and like I said, they blew out the G League Cardinals. So, Panthers beat the Cardinals 34-10, and who knows, maybe the Panthers might make a late push here. Then in Lambeau Field, the Green Bay Packers blanked. They shut out the Seahawks 17-0. Yes, and this was with Russell Wilson. And I guess this was also a slugfest, a defensive one that I didn't expect. I thought this was going to be like a total shootout between Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. But Aaron Rodgers also struggled against a usually shitty Seahawks secondary, a usually shitty Seahawks defense overall. But even Aaron Rodgers was struggling in this game. Russell Wilson looked very, very rusty in this game. But in the end, all it took for the Packers to win this game, all it took for them to blank the Seahawks, was not just 3 turnovers on Russell Wilson, but also running back A.J. Dillon filling in, stepping up for Aaron Jones, who had to leave the game. Came in the clutch with 2 touchdowns. And like I said, the Packers defense getting those 3 turnovers on Wilson to complete the blank slate on Seattle. 17-0. Then in the Mile High, I don't know how Denver somehow fucks things up after a big win, because they got their asses whooped by the Cowboys' hated division rival, the Philadelphia Eagles. Came into the Mile High to kick some Denver ass, 34-10. Man, 34-10 is such a popular score this week, because Jalen Hurts found Devontae Smith for 2 big touchdowns, and Darius Slay forced a huge fumble on Melvin Gordon and returned it for a touchdown that would pretty much seal the deal in the 4th quarter. And this was just very disappointing for Denver. This is very coming off a big win in Dallas, and then you come home to face a Philadelphia Eagles team that they should have easily beat, and then you just lay an absolute egg. Yikes. So then we get the Sunday night game, and even more blowouts happen because the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Las Vegas Raiders 41-14. Yikes. But looks like the Chiefs offense may be getting its groove back. Patrick Mahomes, the Kansas City big 3 of him, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce, they might be finding their groove back. And a defense that's usually shitty, they stepped up big to turn Derek Carr and the Raiders offense into a completely one-dimensional one, into a Vegas massacre. So, they probably were rolling the dice, partying on the strip after that game. So the Chiefs roll over the Raiders 41-14 in a Sunday night beatdown in the Roomba drone. Then in the Monday night game, the Monday night closer. Oh man, you remember last week when I said this was going to be a massacre? Yeah, this was going to be the Monday Night Massacre. West Coast, good old-fashioned Bears football, John. Yeah, a good showcase of West Coast Bears football. Well, guess what? Guess what? Yeah, the San Francisco 49ers. Yes, my San Francisco 49ers defeated the LA Rams 31-10. So it was the Monday Night Massacre, just not in the way that I expected. So yes, go ahead. I'll take the big ass, fat ass L. You can go ahead and clown me all you want. You could paint the clown face paint. You could put on the Mr. Rogers clown mask all over me this week. You can clown me for guaranteeing a massacre on Monday night for the 49ers. And you know what? I deserve it. I absolutely deserve this clowning that is coming to me. And the 49ers just absolutely harassed and pressured Matthew Stafford all game long to the point where he just looked like the old Matthew Stafford of the Lions. Cooper Kupp, I mean, he had a good game, but it wasn't enough. And Jimmy G, he looked all right. He looked good, but it was mainly the run game and the defense that played a role. And Deebo Samuel had a big game. He had a monster game in this one, so he looked pretty good. Jimmy Ward, who came back from injury, got a big pick six on Matt Stafford, and that pretty much all she wrote in that one. So that was week 10 of the 2021 NFL season. A couple of upsets, a lot of blowouts, but still, there were a lot of things to take away from in this one. Sure, there were a lot of blowouts. There were a lot of things that blowout, yeah. But there were also a couple of upsets to kind of balance things out. And I think there are some competitive games here too. Let's see here. Yeah. Only a fairly few competitive games, but still, I guess it's like a balancing act of sorts. In this week, but still, a couple of there were some upsets, like I said, that stood out to me that were like shit. Maybe I thought either differently or more of the same of these teams. So overall, things are getting pretty interesting as we get down the stretch here of week 11. And these teams are really seriously making that push. Maybe like the wins, like the 49ers won, maybe they're making their maybe this the thing that could, well, as much as I hate to say it, the teams that get this big win and they've lost so much after they lost so much, that was the thing that they needed to make a late push. So we'll see what happens there. So now let's talk about my winners and losers of week 10. We start off with the winners, the New England Patriots. They've been for the last couple weeks since I think it was the Jets game, and then they went to I think Carolina and the Chargers, and now they faced a Browns team that was pretty much banged up on both sides, and they literally put an ass kicking. Like this is like the ass kicking of old, turned into 2021, and the defense banged up on a banged up Cleveland team, and the secondary limited Baker Mayfield and the passing attack, and the front seven pretty much got to Baker Mayfield. They sacked his ass all game long. Mac Jones on the offense continued to look much better, and I think we're starting to I think people were really underestimating Mac Jones a little bit, going into this season. And he's really looking pretty well. I was a little bit wrong about Mac Jones, a little bit, but I don't know. It's only one season, but he looks like the guy with precision and confidence with his throws. He also I was wrong about this guy. He actually not just a statue guy. He runs out of the pocket and not just to throw the ball out, but he actually runs if he wants to. So, this is a guy that New England got right on. And the running back group of Damian Harris and especially Ramondre Stevenson could be an X Factor tandem down the stretch when they're trying to make a playoff push, especially because now that considering that, they're not that far behind the Buffalo Bills for the division title. They got a big game couple weeks that could decide the division. Not just the division, but maybe the Patriots can make a last push for that to regain their division title. So right now though, this is a big statement win for the Patriots. And I guess for 1 week, the Washington football team. And yes, this game can be looked at as an outlier for now. This was their best game all season. For a team that came in banged up, the defense was underperforming, and then they just lost Chase Young for the season to the ACL injury. This game on Sunday was pretty damn good for them. The defense was pressuring Tom Brady all game long. They pretty much, outside of a couple touchdown throws to I think it was Chris Godwin. No, was it Chris Godwin? But I think at least one of them was to Mike Evans. So outside of giving up those plays, they pretty much harassed Brady all game long. And meanwhile on offense, Taylor Heineke, had confidence for most of the game. And he had very little mistakes in this one. Except I think he had an interception on one play, which he really shouldn't have made. But other than that, he found his guys with confidence and strolled out of the pocket very well. And, he was kind of like a playmaker in this one. And Antonio Gibson, I think that bye week helped him a little bit. He healed up a little. And we'll see what happens down the stretch with him that can carry the offense. So overall, this was a good game that the Washington team needed to have. It won't do anything for their playoff chances, but this is I think their win of the season. The Dallas Cowboys, like I said, this was definitely a game that their bounce back game. This is the game that everything was clicking literally, both on offense and defense. Dak was back to his normal self. Zeke back to his normal self. The receivers, were clicking with Dak, and the defense, harassed Matt Ryan all game long. And the special teams even blocked a punt and returned it for a touchdown. The Cowboys, that game against Denver would literally prove, this game literally proved that game against Denver was just a trap game. It was literally just a game where everyone, including Dak, was just rusty as hell. So this was a game that that they needed to have to bounce back from, and they bounced back big because they're gonna need it for the stretch run. And as much as I hate to admit it, the San Francisco 49ers, yes, they are a winner this week. And as much as I still don't think that they won't run the table, despite that schedule, and I still have some suspicion about their defense because, let's face it, they always play motivated against the LA Rams. Let's just face it. They swept them for 2 consecutive years already. I gotta give them some credit for finally motivating themselves, especially defensively to win games, that they should win. You have to play other teams besides the Rams to motivate this way. But this game, the Niners looked poised. They put heat on Matthew Stafford all game long for 60 minutes. And Jimmy G had a pretty much turnover-free performance. Kyle Shanahan, did his style of play, and it worked to a degree. I don't agree with it, but it worked, I guess, of running the ball literally down everybody's throats. And, it had the Rams looking for answers all night, and it could be that case, going down the stretch. Now people like the Packers or the Cardinals have tape on what the 49ers just did to the Rams, and they can use that against the Rams when they face them. So overall, the Niners did something that could, put a dent in the Rams' playoff hopes and maybe even the Super Bowl hopes. Because look at this team, sure, they're not perfect, but maybe we could meet the role of playoff spoilers. I don't know. But as for the Niners themselves, they shouldn't be thinking playoffs, but hey, this was a really good performance that they laid out on Monday. Now, as for the losers, even though we're I know I'm stuttering like an asshole here. Continuing on the trend of the Monday night game, the LA Rams, holy hell, Like, what happened here? What the fuck happened here? Like, I'm not trying to say that I wanted the Monday Night Massacre to happen, even though I kind of predicted it was going to happen, and it didn't. But shit, holy hell! Like, objectively speaking, this is a team that's supposed to be one of the top contenders in the NFC, but yeah, they certainly have not looked like it in the last 2 weeks. Sure, we like the one in week 9 against the Titans, we would have looked at it as like, okay, they let themselves get rattled, they let themselves get upset by a Tennessee team that didn't have Derrick Henry, but then they come out in week 10 in another primetime outing against a division rival in the 49ers that don't have a good offense. They have a shitty secondary, and then they get their ass whooped. And then they let themselves get boat raced by Jimmy Garbage Fail. So I'm not sure what exactly happened here. They just let themselves literally get run over. That's all I know. Matthew Stafford for the last 2 games has looked like his old line self. The receivers pretty much, even Cooper Kupp has had Butterfingers all game long. Maybe they shouldn't. Like, the receivers really gotta stop eating Butterfingers, man. It's not doing good stuff for you. And then Jimmy G, I don't think once got sacked. I don't think Jimmy G, once, got like pressured at any point by Aaron Donald and Von Miller. Not once. Literally. And, that's kind of disappointing for, a guy, especially like Von Miller, who just came to the team, to not like generate any pressure, not generate a blitz on him. And yeah, Sean McVay has a lot of serious work to do because, they got a lot of tough games going forward. And, they can't be shitting the bed. They can't be playing the way that they had the last 2 games. Especially now, because considering that, like I said, what the 49ers did to the Rams on Monday night, teams have tape on how to beat the Rams in that way. So, yikes. The Seahawks, yes, 2 NFC West rivals of the 49ers are losers this week. I just wonder about, this offense. I know, like, the defense sucks ass already. Don't let that defensive performance for about like 3.5 quarters fool you against Aaron Rodgers. I'm just a little concerned about this offense for the Seahawks because I don't know. It does it seem like Russell Wilson rushed himself back a little too soon from that that finger injury because he didn't look like his usual self. He was like kind of scared to throw the rocket arm passes, or he was like he didn't have enough like energy to throw them because he either didn't have enough energy to throw them because it was getting airmailed past Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, or he wasn't doing them at all and he was just replacing them with the short throw game to Gerald Everett, his tight end. So this is a little bit concerning, and I know it's just one game. Russell Wilson's trying to shake off the rust, but it's kind of concerning for the Seahawks going forward. And if this shows up again against the Cardinals next week, who might have Kyler Murray back, it's their playoff hopes could be dampened going down the stretch. And then the Denver Broncos. Like, holy shit, how do you fuck up this game so bad? You beat the Dallas Cowboys big in week 9, and then you proceed to shit the bed against the Eagles in week 10. Like, literally, how do you fuck this up so bad? How do you not build on momentum? Like, Vic Fangio, you played things way too safe, with your offense. Like, we know how, okay, like, how decent your defense is. But, dude, what do you do with your offense? You played it so conservatively. You attempted more runs with Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams than you let Teddy Bridgewater pass. And when you let him pass, you just let him throw the check down like Jimmy G does with the 49ers. Like, and look what that led to. The Eagles exploding on offense. Devontae Smith scores 2 touchdowns on them. And then I think it was Jordan Howard and Boston Scott, combining for I think it was 1 touchdown or 2 touchdowns. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong in that. And then that was capped off with a defensive touchdown that was caused by Darius Slay with a forced fumble. Yeah. I think Vic Fangio is trying to let the Broncos sink themselves back to the basement of the AFC West. They're like, no. Let's not have the Raiders go there. Let's have ourselves, the Denver Broncos, go there. And then there's one more bonus loser of the week. Yes, it is me. It's me, Austin. Yes, I myself am a loser this week because I guaranteed a massacre on Monday night by the LA Rams on the 49ers, and I got completely clowned for it. Right on my telly as I came home from work. I looked at the score and it was a massacre, but in the other way. It just goes to show that anything can happen in the NFL. And yeah, I'll take the L. I will take the L for that horrible preview I did on my recap episode of the 49ers from last week. Have at it. I am a big loser this week. Yes, me. So, players of the week. Week 9, Kirk Cousins. 3 touchdowns against the Chargers. Taking care of the football. Efficient throwing in that game. Jonathan Taylor, looked really, really good on the ground. Slicing and dicing just about everybody on the Jaguars. And he's continuing to prove that he's a top 5 running back in the NFL. And Deebo Samuel pretty much had the best game of his NFL career so far. He looked pretty damn good. And Trey Lance gets in there. Oh shit, things are about to get wild next season. Things are really about to get wild. And then the New England defense, holy shit, it looks like they are going to be a force to be reckoned with. But we'll see what happens when they start facing the best of the best down the stretch. So then, that was my recap of the 2021 NFL Week 10. Let me know how you felt about those games, my winners and losers. Who are your winners and losers of Week 10? And who were your players of the week? So let me know how you felt. And then we're going to move on to my picks for Week 11. Here we are in Week 11, a lot of important matchups this week with this point of the NFL season because, teams are either fighting for the division or fighting for playoff spots. A lot of teams at this point, unlike compared to past seasons, you don't know exactly who is gonna be in the playoff hunt. Pretty much just every team is either one game behind, a half game behind, or they're exactly at the same record as each other. I think the Vikings, the 49ers, I think also the Falcons and the Eagles have almost the same identical records as each other. So it's pretty in the AFC it's no different. Literally almost everyone has the same, outside of the Ravens, the Titans, pretty much the contender, pretty much the bulk of the pack, the cream of the crop. Outside the cream of the crop, everyone else down below, it's pretty much anyone's game, I guess. So there's a lot to sort out. Usually by week, by last week or 2 weeks ago, you would have figured out okay, we know at least a couple, one or two or 3 or 4 teams, 2 on each side by now, who's going to be in and who's going to be out. But no, literally, there's literally, it's an arms race. I mean, sure, we already know that the Lions, the Texans, the Jets, the Jags, we already know their shit. We already know their shit. They're not going anywhere this season. So, we can disqualify them from this conversation. But this is the week 11 for pretty much like all the X Factor teams to prove that they're in it to win it. They're not the flukes of the playoff race. And that point starts with Thursday Night Football as we get a Super Bowl rematch of sorts, not really, as the New England Patriots take on the Atlanta Falcons this time in Atlanta. Last time around, Tom Brady faced Matt Ryan in an immediate rematch of Super Bowl 51 in Foxborough, and it got so foggy that Tom Brady was able to whip on the Falcons' candy asses 24-7. But this time around, 4 years later, it's Matt Ryan's turn to host not Tom Brady, but Mac Jones and the Patriots on his home turf. But, oh man, things look so different now for the Falcons because their offense is so bad. So look for Mac Jones and this Patriots offense to just naturally weave through this bad Falcons team. And, Matt Ryan's just going to get harassed by a pretty good Patriots defense all game long. And I don't expect Cordell Patterson, their running back / wide receiver, to play in this game. And even if he does, he's just going to risk himself getting hurt because he's currently slated with the mild ankle sprain. And I don't think it's worth playing in this game against a quality team. So, the Falcons can just take the L. Patriots are going to win this, so no question about it. But then again, crazy things have happened on Thursday night. So then we get into the Sunday slate of games. We'll start with the early morning action. The New Orleans Saints take on the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles have taken a pretty much run-first approach, just like the 49ers, pretty much. So this run-first approach by the Eagles is pretty much going to face a challenge against a top-ranked Saints run defense. But I think even then with the Saints, Trevor Siemian is not exactly lining it up on offense. Sure, he's not making mistakes, but, he's not really doing much, to help them win games. So expect Jalen Hurts to throw it more, especially to Devontae Smith, and take care of the Saints in a tightly contested game ahead of Thanksgiving. Then in New York, the Miami Dolphins take on the New York Jets. This game, really? At this point in the season? We all know Tua's going to start, but now we know it's Joe Flacco that's going to take the reins. So either way, the Dolphins have a decent pass rush. That was seen on Thursday night. They know how to get to the quarterback. And they're just pretty much going to dismantle green eggs and ham on the road. Yeah, I don't care about this game. So the Washington football team travels to Carolina to take on the Carolina Panthers. I think Washington is going to have a little bit of a harder time to win with their similar formula from the Tampa Bay game. I think Antonio Gibson's going to have a little bit of a more difficult game against Carolina's defense. And I think the Panthers have a little bit of a more rejuvenated team with, like I said, with Cam Newton. Cam Newton, this is going to be his first game in front of Carolina since 2019. He's pretty much back with the team at home. And, Carolina is a little bit more healthier than Washington. And, they have their familiar quarterback to get things done. So I'm going to roll with Carolina in this game. Then in a big matchup of the week, the Indianapolis Colts take on the Buffalo Bills. This is a critical game for both teams. The Buffalo Bills are back to hitting their stride on offense. And the Colts, for as fluky as they are, they're trying to catch up to the Tennessee Titans. They're waiting for the Titans to, to slip up a couple of games, and so they can, take advantage of the AFC South. But the Bills shouldn't have no problem. They should continue to return to form ahead of a matchup against the Patriots 2 weeks from now, and ahead of a Thanksgiving game against the Saints next week. So they should take care of a fluky Colts team that nearly gave up 2 games against 2 bottom barrel teams. So I'm going with the Bills. Then in another game that probably no one will want to win, the Detroit Lions will attempt to actually win a game against the skid marks, the Cleveland Browns, the banged up Cleveland skid marks. So we don't know if Baker Mayfield or Case Keenum is going to start this game, but whoever it is, like I said, they're banged up. And like pretty much nothing is happening in the air. So it's pretty much going to be like the running game that's going to run this show. Whatever's left of the defense, specifically the front seven, is going to have to do the damage to whether it's Jared Goff or whoever their backup quarterback is. So I'm just going to roll with the Browns. Then, in an interesting matchup, the San Francisco 49ers traveled to AEW Land to take on Jacksonville and the Jaguars. So, I mean, the 49ers should hopefully carry over their performance from the Rams game, especially on defense. So they should be able to beat up on Trevor Lawrence and their non-existent offense and their non-existent defense that had, they had a pseudo Josh Allen game a couple weeks ago, but other than that, they pretty much had a non-existent game. They have a non-existent team, but as long as the Niners players, like none of the Niners players, I'm looking at you, George Kittle. As long as George Kittle doesn't rep anything All Elite Wrestling, as none of them like don anything AEW, they'll be able to beat up on the Jags in the land of All Elite. So I'm just hoping the Niners don't like wear anything AEW. And if they do, they'll get the job done and move to 500. So the Houston Texans travel to take on the Tennessee Titans in their return of the bye week. And let's just say they'll be instantly met by a week of destruction from the Titans offense. Yeah, that's all I have to say about this Titans game. So the Titans will win easily, beating the Texans as they head towards that fight to take on the number 1 overall pick. They just got to take care of the Lions for that. Then, in a big divisional game, the Green Bay Packers take on the Minnesota Vikings. This is a big game for two teams fighting for playoff spots. Green Bay is well ahead of Minnesota, but Vikings still trying to fight for a playoff spot. If Minnesota wins, you never know, and Green Bay could slip up. They got a lot of tough games ahead of their way. I'm not sure about Minnesota's schedule, but a win here for Minnesota and a couple of Packers losses down the stretch. For as mediocre as Minnesota is, like you never know what can happen. But given these are the kind of games that Kirk Cousins sinks in, he shrinks. Aaron Rodgers should be able to attack this Vikings defense that's pretty weak. So I'm gonna roll with the Vikings in this one. And then, yes, Week 11 brings the return of Bears football as the Bears return from their vacation of mediocrity to be plastered by the Baltimore Ravens. Yes, a very pissed off and angry Ravens team that was just upset the week prior by a shitty Dolphins team. Sure, I mean, Justin Fields balled out the last time we saw him on the field against the Steelers, but man, that offensive line, the secondary sold him out. So I'm expecting no different from this Bears team against a very pissed off Ravens team that had a very bad game that fell into a trap against the Dolphins. So expect the Ravens to rebound unless if they don't want to against the Bears on Sunday. Then we get to the afternoon slate of games. The Cincinnati Bengals traveled to Vegas to take on the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't expect Derek Carr to get any better in this game. I don't think the Raiders, I don't think things will get better for them because they'll face a not much like tougher, but a slightly tougher Bengals defense. Joe Burrow is also seething after getting completely destroyed by the Browns a couple weeks ago. So this is a Bengals team that want to be sinking its teeth into the black hole pretty much. Jamar Chase wants to be getting back into his role of lining it up on offense, brushing past defenders, making his case for offensive rookie of the year. So he wants this Bengals team also needs to be getting back on track if they want to have a chance to compete with the Ravens for the AFC North. So I'm gonna roll with the Bengals on this one. Now, in probably one of the games, actually the game that I can't give a definitive pick on, the Arizona Cardinals travel to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. Just like with the Seahawks game last week, it's very hard to predict what's gonna happen, who's gonna play, on both sides. We know Russell Wilson's gonna play. We know he's gonna shake off the rust. But we don't know if Kyler Murray is going to play in this game. He had that ankle injury a couple weeks ago on Thursday night against the Packers. He didn't play in the 2 games against San Francisco and Carolina. And I know he wants to play in this game against Seattle, but then again, their bye week is in literally the next week. Are you sure you want to play this game against Seattle? I mean, sure, you don't want to lose 3 consecutive games because you'll probably fall behind to the Rams. But then they're not doing so hot. So, do you want to risk Kyler Murray in a game against Seattle? Sure, they're not doing so hot right now either, but the bye week is around the corner for Seattle. So, not Seattle, Arizona. So, I think they want to play the long-term game here. So, I don't know. It's their decision. Whatever. So we'll see what happens there. In all honesty, I can't really give you a definitive pick on this game because, it's really going to be an interesting one because, if Kyler Murray plays, and he looks like his pre-week 8 self, not his pre, his before week 8 self, then he's pretty much going to destroy the Seahawks. But if he looks anything like he did against the Packers, then yeah, he's going to get whooped. Probably. So the worst case scenario is if Colt McCoy plays in this game. The Seahawks defense remains probably one of the worst, if not the worst, in the league. But then you saw what the Cardinals offense with Colt McCoy against Carolina. Yeah. So in all honesty, I can't really give you a definitive pick in this game. So yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. So then we get to our last couple of games. The Dallas Cowboys against the Kansas City Chiefs, and probably one of the biggest games of the slate on week 11. It's going to be a high-scoring affair. The Cowboys are on a roll offensively and on both. In all honesty, both sides of the ball. And the Chiefs just finally found their groove back again. Mahomes and the Kansas City Big Three. They're going to be wanting to go toe-to-toe with Dak Prescott and the boys. So it's going to be a high-scoring affair. But I think, for all the groove that the Chiefs have found again, I don't think it'll be enough. I think the Cowboys will find a way to upset the Chiefs due to a defensive play that could go down late in the game that turns the tide in favor of the Cowboys. And for as much as the media wants to rag on, the Cowboys lost to the Chiefs. Yay! I think the Cowboys will find a way, down the wire, to win this one. I think the Chiefs, the game against the Raiders might be an outlier. It could be. We'll see. So I'm going to roll with the Cowboys in this one. Then the Sunday night game, the Pittsburgh Steelers traveled to SoFi to take on the LA Chargers. Oh, sorry, no, not the Chargers. The Clippers. Yes, the Clippers are back, people. But this is probably not going to be one exciting Sunday night game. Just like last week, because we don't know if Big Ben Roethlisberger is going to play in this game. We don't know if he's going to be cleared out of the COVID protocol. So we don't know what's going to happen there. So if he's not cleared from the protocol, then we're probably going to get more of Mason Rudolph. Yikes. Yuck. Why don't they play Dwayne Haskins? I know he had trouble during his Washington days, legal trouble, but it's been almost a year. And nothing has happened since then. Like, the dude hasn't gotten in trouble since then. Like, he's been, like, sitting on the bench, like understudying Ben Roethlisberger, and, you know, getting, like, maturity treatment, maturity development from Mike Tomlin. Like, why didn't you let this dude have a chance? Like, why don't you let him, like, take a shot in this primetime slot? Like, why do we got to roll with Mason Rudolph, who we already know for, like, the last, like, what, 2 years? We know he sucks. We know he absolutely sucks. Okay? So, like, whether it's Big Ben Roethlisberger or Mason Rudolph, like, the Steelers, like, are garbage on offense. They're hot garbage. So, expect for Justin Herbert to, you know, who's, speaking of offense, like, their offense has not been good for the last 2 games. So expect for Justin Herbert to finally get his offense back on track in the bright lights of Sunday night in SoFi, which will probably be like a road game essentially for the Chargers, because, well, Pittsburgh probably is gonna show out in LA on Sunday, but the Chargers are gonna win this one. Then in the Monday night game, how does New York continue to have so many primetime games? Yes, I know it's the name, the market, but goddamn, when does the NFL start to realize that no matter what the median market name is, no matter what it is, the team sucks. The team absolutely sucks. Okay? The New York Giants traveled to Tampa Bay to take on a very pissed off Bucs team. So you're telling me that you really want to see a Giants team get their candy asses whooped by a Tampa Bay Bucs team, no matter how much they're struggling right now, especially defensively. You really want to see them get their ass kicked. Okay, sure. So expect for Tampa Bay, expect for Tom Brady and this offense, you know, to bounce back from a game against Washington that pretty much rendered Tom Brady to sideline boy. But man, yeah. This is pretty much a game where New York is going to get their ass kicked. That's all I'll say about that. So those are my picks for Week 11 of this NFL season. The biggest season ever, John. So those are my picks for Week 11. Let me know how you feel about my picks. Let me know your picks, however you can, about this week. And yeah, this should be an interesting week. This is probably one of the big weeks as we head down the stretch towards the back half of the NFL season. So it's going to be a somewhat interesting one. But that's it for today's show of Very Cold Lasagna. I'm your host, DylanLasagna. Thank you for tuning into this fine episode of the show, the podcast, however it is. But anyway, make sure you listen to the show however you can and whatever way you want on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor FM, Google Podcasts. Make sure you follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Very Cold Lasagna. And as always, keep that lasagna very cold in the fridge with your takes on the world of pro wrestling and sports. Very cold in the fridge. Tasty as a very cold yet spicy hot lasagna. And hopefully this week of NFL action will be good. It'll be good. But until next time, I'm signing out and peace out.